And again, this is the anti-Mary Sue. She's
Mhm.
taking on herself. I'm the captain, right?
Yeah.
And she's in over her head, and she.
Skeleton Crew episode 4 that dropped this week, and let's talk about it, man. What were your thoughts?
Well, I put on my Patreon, just as I do every week, open thread, people talking about it. There's at least the people on my Patreon largely seem to think it's a bit slower than the other episodes, or they thought it was fine, but it wasn't as good as the other ones. I actually don't really agree with that.
Hmm.
My opinion is that I enjoyed it very much, and I actually enjoyed the slower pace of it because now we actually have a moment to breathe. In these relatively short episodes, we have a moment to breathe and get a little bit of character work with these kids. So at least two of the kids I got to know a little better,
Hmm.
like Fern, who's the spunky captain chick, right? You finally get to see her vulnerability, and I've said on my Patreon, I think that young woman that's playing her is going to be a star. You can tell, like this kid's going to have a. I think all of those kids are great, but this young woman in particular at least has the potential to become a long-term star, and she's from an acting family, so maybe she's being groomed for that. Hopefully, that's not the right word, but or she's being trained by her parents for a longer-term career. But and then you had then you had sort of the elephant creature character, right? And Neil, and you got he's been a little bit of the whiny kid. I want to go home.
Hmm. Hmm.
In an adventure like this, I think all the kids are archetypes. There's the kid who's there's Wim who's thinking this is the greatest thing on earth. I'm free to do all these wonderful things. There's Fern who's like, what the hell are we gonna do here? And then there's Neil who's like, I want to go home, right? And so each of these characters has a thing. So Neil's the I want to go home character, but he finally gets a bit of a really deep character development in this episode. You get to, if I may use, for the elephant creature, his humanity and how important it is that he sort of is there for them.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot. One comment that Stacy Ballard, who's a very big member of my Patreon, is always giving interesting comments, pointed out, and I think he's right. I do think that all these episodes were probably longer than they originally shot longer. It does feel like this episode, the editing was off, so it feels like they had a bunch of more scenes that we never got to see.
Yeah.
And so who knows who gave them the directive to keep it to 39 minutes or whatever it was. I mean, I think 10 more minutes would have made the show stronger. And
Uh-huh.
I think they probably had that footage. It felt like there was stuff that was just cut out on the editing floor. That who knows where the directive is coming from on that.
Okay. Well, there's two things that bothered me about this episode.
Mhm.
One was the ending, just like what you said,
Yeah.
and two was the French military, the French resistance dad, like
The
I didn't.
Makigi dudes, yeah.
Yeah, the French resistance, planet Ascendant. um, but other than that, I gotta tell you, at first I was like, where is this going? And then, like you said, like the characters got to, like, breathe. I loved it, and I loved it when the lead little girl,
Fern, yeah.
Fern, when she broke down because she didn't have the answers. I'm like, yes, we
And that
needed.
showed her acting. I mean, it was really believable. She's like
Yeah.
she's taken on herself. And again, this is the anti-Mary Sue. She's
Hmm.
taken on herself. I'm the captain, right?
Yeah.
And she's in over her head, and she admits she's in over her head.
Yeah.
But the other kids really believe in her because they don't know who else to believe in.
So there was a lot that I was really digging about that, but it was like in that middle part, I still felt the storytelling. It was either rushed. I don't know. It was a little.
It feels like it was just cut. It feels
It
like
was.
there was more of a story. Like some people, that there's this other militant group on that planet that we just see in the shadows. We don't really get to know we don't get to know them. It feels like there must have been more scenes with them, and they're just not there.
Yeah, yeah. Like, and I think also too. Now that being said, I did enjoy this one.
Mhm.
I think there was some of the better moments so far in the series with
Yeah,
these kids. And Jude Law's character I keep loving what he's doing.
yeah.
Uh, and I love the idea that there's these planets that were secret, and so we got to see one that goes the opposite way of Atian, which is this planet that's in constant civil war.
And they established something. These all planets seem to. It's almost like like a suburban model community. They're all modeled the same way. Like they all have the same physical buildings. That's why they think they're on their home planet, right? But it
Right.
makes no sense because like this. this has all
which
been
was really
destroyed,
interesting, right?
but it's all the same stuff.
Which was very interesting. Um, and then I love the little moment with the Snout kid and the little French girl. You know, like because I'm like, I'm not really not. It's just a little too much. Like she's like kind of like little girl boss, and then she's not. And I loved
And
their
he
mo.
teaches her. He teaches her, like, you don't have to live like this. And
Yep.
the reality is, sadly, there's child soldiers throughout the world today, right? And their childhood has been taken away by the conflicts of the world that they're in, that they must participate in. And you get to see sort of the toll that it affects a child that isn't allowed to be a child, which is in some ways the opposite of this thing. Like, it's the dark side of the fantasy of this world where these children get to be on an adult adventure. Well, look at
Yeah.
this girl who's been on an adult adventure her whole life, and it's broken her.
Finally, I think this episode is gonna replay very well for me when I watch the entire season when once it's all with us as a continuation of their adventures. The characters are everyone's still very likable. We're getting a little bit more into the kids, into Jude Law, and that's who the Skeleton Crew is. So yeah, that's those are my feelings as well, Cameron.
Yeah, so it's good.
Good.
It was good. It's a
Uh,
good episode. So I'm looking forward to next week. I think they're going to be on this planet for a little longer. So maybe we'll get a time to figure out what happened here and what's going on. So yeah.